Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Thursday class with some prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswa, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya. तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्य मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गम्य ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांति. Okay, let's open our books, Upanishad books, Mundak Upanishad. We are on verse number 4, and this is a chapter 3 of this Upanishad and section 1. Okay. So now verse number 4, this Rishi is saying, Prana hi eshaha yasarva bhutei vibhati vijanan vidvan bhavate nativadi atam kridaha atmarati kriyavan eshaha brahmavida varishtaha. Pran, he means verily. Eshaha, this. Ya means who? Sarva bhutai, from all beings. Vibhati, reveals. Vijanan, knowing well. Vidwan, a wise person. Bhavate, becomes. Nativadi, silent. So if you break this word, na ativadi. Okay, na ativadi. So that's why it means silent. Doesn't speak much. So it could be verbally also, it could be mentally also. Na ativadi. Atam kridaha, supporting in self. Atam rati, delighted in itself. Kriyavan, doing some actions. Eshaha, this. Brahmavida, of those who know Brahma. Varishtaha, the best. Knowing him. So knowing him means knowing the self or Brahma. The wise person stops all his blabberings. Okay, doesn't talk much then. There's no need to talk. Supporting in self, delighted in the self, and doing, that means whatever needs to be done, he does. This person is the best of those who know the Brahma. Okay. So, what does Pran mean in this verse? Because it starts with Prana. He who is Pran. So, Pran here is used as a total Pran. Other places in the Upanishads, this is called a Sutra Atma also, or Ishwar, or God principle. So our realizing the pure consciousness, the seer at once realizes that it is in truth the creation is. So truth is the creator, maintainer, and also the inhalator. All the finite objects, finite feelings. So knowing this, so this is what he means, he who is Pran. Knowing this, a fulfilled seeker does not blabber anymore because he has known the truth. He doesn't waste his thoughts or his words. He has no more any interest in a world of earning, hoarding, competing, gaining, striving, suffering, gathering, spending. None of that interests him at all. So, what is his occupation then? This Rishi says his support in the self. He delights in the self. Because we do things to feel happy, to feel delighted. See, Krida word is a support, and Rati means delight. Krida is used when the joy gained due to outer. So when we use the outer things, for a child it could be a ball, or it could be a computer game. That's a Krida. And Rati is when we gain the joy in ourselves without any interference of any object or the objects outside. So this yogi, this seer, having realized in himself his true nature, he doesn't have any other occupation. He has experienced the highest within himself. So he just observes that. He enjoys that. So it's almost like a tranquil play of the self in all the time. So he's not unhappy. He's not discontent. In fact, he's super content within himself. So a seer experiences a selfhood within and without, and lives on the eternal life of light, power, wisdom. So in this mantra, the term Kriyavan, that means he is active. He is Kriyavan. He alone can, in the true sense of the term, be active actually. Because his actions are selfless now. He doesn't do it for himself. This kind of a person can bring cultural uplift in the real sense. Because no more selfishness in him. Okay, so there's no selfish action, no selfless. All the actions are selfless. So this rishi is applauding such a selfless actions and prescribes it as a natural occupation of all the saints of true realization. Okay, that's why we see the saintly people always happy, always joyful. It's not because of something, but they are always in touch with the source of joy constantly. Let's look at next verse number 5. Satyen labhya tapsa hi eshah atma samyag jnanen brahmacharyen nityam antah sharire jyotirmaya hi shubhra yam pashyanti yatya kushin dosha. Satyen, by truth. Labhya, attained. Tapsa, by tapa, austerity or concentration. He mean verily, eshah, this atma. Samyag jnanen, by well knowing. Okay, so jnana is the knowledge, samyag means very well. Brahmacharyen, by self-control. Nityam, constant. Antaha sharire, within the body. Jyotirmaya, luminous. He means verily, shubhra, stainless. Yam means whom, pashyanti, see. Yatyaha, ascetics. Kushin doshaha, who are purified. So they have been kashin, removed. So the self is attained through truthfulness, through austerity, wisdom, and self-control. Cultivate all of them constantly. Nitya. When impurities thus dwindle, the ascetic beholds him. Him means the self, stainless, resplendent within his own body. So we don't have to bring the Atma from somewhere. It's in our body. It is who we are. All we have to do is just remove the impurities. So Satyam, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya. These are the three main cornerstones of the temple of Hinduism. We have heard these words countless times from our parents also, from the teachers also, from the saints. Satyam, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya. Even when our scriptures enumerated these three fundamentals for a purely godly life, they took pains to see that Satyam has been mentioned as the first. Satya. Even in Mahabharata, Satyam Vad Dharmam Cha. Satyam is always first. Satyam is that which is not false. In ordinary transactions of life, we mean by truthfulness a complete faithfulness between the thoughts in the mind and the words we express them. For example, if you are thinking that a thing is bad and we say that it is good, we are not truthful. Because our conscious knows that. If we go deeper into our own psyche, there is a disturbance. So, in the spiritual sense of term, Satyam should play in the field of the intellect also. When the scriptures say the Satyam, not only at the verbal level and the thought level, but even at the intellectual level. Because intellect is even higher than the mind. When the external impressions of the world gathered by the mind are filtered through the intellect, the thinking principle in us comes to certain judgments. And then this evaluation happens. So, using that discriminating judgment, if we have compromised ourselves, we know that we have been false. So, we should be careful. We should not go against our own intellectual convictions. Otherwise, spiritually, we are living a false life. So, in this sense, we have here in this mantra Satyam used. Okay, so not just only the words and the thoughts, but intellectually also. Grind this inside you. And tap, again, tap is not just for the physical tap. Over here, tap really means in your thoughts also. So at this level, tap is a brooding thought. This is not the unintelligent, gross tap of the body. That's very easy to do. To stay hungry, very easy. To keep yourself away from this world, very easy. So that's why tap is a brooding thought. So to some extent, tap of the body is good. We learn from it, but we got to, as a serious seeker now, we got to control our mind and the intellect. When a person has practiced the vow of truthfulness, then this tapa really means a meditation. A seeker becomes more and more fit to delve into the secret caves of the mind. Seeker will really understand the import of this mantra. Tapa. Why they are saying tapa? First satyam and then tapa. So truthfulness, meditation, and intense study of the scriptures are all possible only when a person has taken into himself the principle of brahmacharya in life. And these are not the rules just for a seasonal enthusiasm. Okay? So seasonal means sometimes we think that on certain days we can do it, or certain time of the year we'll do it. Seeker says, no, I want to do it all the time. Continuously practiced for a long period, only then a seeker will gain more and more poise of personality. He will develop his powers of understanding, and he will also know how to apply them too. It's not only understanding intellectually, ultimately the application is needed. And that's what he meant. Antakaran Shuddhi. Antaha Sharire Jyotirmaya. Anta Sharire means the subtle body. So our capacities, mental and intellectual, are at present ineffectual because of their grossness. We are using them. We know we have a mind, we know we have an intellect, but we are using it for the finite things. But once we do these practices, satyam, tap, and brahmacharya, the way this rishi is telling us, we can start living the life of a self-control person. We'll have more and more truthfulness in our personality, and tap also. Then we can say we are living a spiritual life. And slowly the negativity dies away. And the seeker becomes purified. Kshin doshaha. So this purification is needed only in these layers of our personality. In our mind, intellect, we have to make it more and more subtle so that we become capable of greater awareness. And ultimately, we realize in ourselves the seat of all awareness, the Atma, is right inside. We were just looking for it outside. It's right here within us. So simple looking verse, but all the directions very clearly have been given in here, and the goal also. So the self is attained through satya, tapa, and self-control. He says cultivate all of them constantly. See, the term constantly is very important. Not once in a while, not here and there, constantly. Then he says when the impurities, by doing this, what will happen? Impurities will dwindle away. And then you will behold your luminous self right here in your body. It's so clear. The message is clear. The goal is right here. Let's look at verse number 6. See, these great rishis, they don't stop. He didn't say, it's okay now, I have finished. I have told you what to do and what you're going to get. What an effort they made for us, not for themselves. They were not trying to sell the books or become popular. We don't even know who these rishis are. Gave us message so clear. Even after thousands of years, it applies to us. But ultimately, practice we must do. They cannot follow Satya for us, or Tap for us, or Brahmacharya for us. We got to do it. Verse number 6. Satyam ev jayate na anritam satyen pantaha vidta devyanaha yen akramantihi rishyahi apt kamaha yatra tat satyasya paramam nidhanam. Satyam, truth. Ev means alone. Jayate, wins. No anritam. No means not. Anrit means untruth. Satyen, by truth. Pantha, path. Vidta is laid out. Devyana, divine. Yen, by which akramantihi, ascend. Rishyaha, seers. He means verily. Apt kamaha, those who have fulfilled all their desires. Yatra means where. Tat means that. Satyasya, of truth. Paramam, supreme. Nidhanam, abode. Truth alone wins. Satyam ev jayate. We have heard that from our childhood. Truth alone wins, not untruth. By truth is laid out the path divine, along which the seers, free from desires, ascend to the supreme abode of truth. So the necessity for truthfulness is explained in this mantra. Again, because it can never be overemphasized in spiritual life. Living a truthful life. So this extra importance is given to truthfulness because the scripture is declaring that not only is the truth the goal, but the truthfulness is the path, and the very path is laid with the slabs of truthfulness. And the word Devyan, we are all familiar with that. Devyan, the path divine runs through truthfulness and is laid by the concrete acts of truthfulness. So technically, Devyan is the path which stands in contrast with the other technical name given to the other path by which the ego centers passes after death, which is called Pitriyan. In Bhagavad Gita, we learned these two terms, Pitriyan and Devyan. So Pitriyan is the path of the mains. Pitriyan is that by which the Jivatma will again go and return and reborn. Pitriyan. But the Devyan, the path of the divine, will take us upward. So that's why he used the word akramantihi, ascend, going upward. It's almost like I have found the tangent through that Devyan path. And Apta Kama, those who have fulfilled all their desires. We all know how do the desires erupt. Desires erupt from the mount of ignorance. Higher the ignorance, more the desires. And those desires, they flow out in unending thoughts, and they reach out in this outer world as our actions. And ultimately, they are scorching us. But with the knowledge of reality, the entire amount of ignorance in us must end. That's what Aptakama is. So when ignorance has ended, the source of desire also gets choked. And naturally, the flow of scorching thoughts end. And the devastating acts and competitions, they get exhausted themselves. That's what Aptakama is. So the term Aptakamaha clearly indicates the perfect state of tranquility, both within and without. Because the seeker is free from the deceit and delusion, pride and vanity, criminality, falsehood, no desire to seek. Definitely the seeker has discovered the realm of truth. And what this realm is and what are its specialties, we'll see that explained in the next verse. Verse number 7. बृहत् च तत् दिव्यम् अचिन्त्य रूपम् सूक्ष्मात् च तत् सूक्ष्मतरं विभाति दूरात् सुदूरे तत् इह अन्तिके च पश्यत्सु इह एव निहितं गुहायाम्. Brihat, vast. Cha means and, tat means that. Divyam, divine. Achintya Rupam, beyond all imaginations. Sukshamat, from the subtlest. Cha means and, tat means that. Suksham taram, subtle. Vibhati, shines. Durat, then the farthest. Sudure, farther. Tat means that, ihi here, antike, within. Cha means and, pashyatsu, those who realize. Ihi here, ev alone, nihitam, seated. Guhyayam, in the cave of the heart. Vast, divine beyond all imaginations. Shines the truth of Brahm. As subtler than the subtlest, farther than the farthest. It is here within the body. The sages realize it verily in this life as fixed in the heart. So clearly he is telling us what to do, how to do, and he says this goal can be attained in this life. But sadhana we have to do. Brahm, the supreme reality, is great. That's what Brahat means, vast or great. Why? Because it's all pervading. That which pervades all and which is pervaded by nothing is Brihat. So that means nothing beyond it, nothing bigger than this, but it is bigger than everybody else or everything else. Brihat. Divya achintya rupam, self-luminous and inconceivable or unknowable, because we know the things through our intellect. Brahm cannot be known by intellect. This spark of life in us is certainly the illuminating principle behind our sense organs. That means the eyes cannot see without that spark. Ears cannot hear without that spark. A mouth cannot speak. Our mind and intellect cannot function without that spark. They are inert by themselves. It lights up everything, including the light-giving objects, like the sun and the moon, the stars, the fire. Nothing can give the light without Brahm. In fact, in its very nature, it's nothing but a mass of light. And remember, this light is not in the ordinary sense in which we know it. Remember that light without its physical properties and known qualities, it's that kind of a light. Then this Rishi says, farther than the farthest, it is here within. So this Rishi is trying to find an expression to express the unfathomable. That's why he's using these words. Because he said the vast or brihat, then he says all pervading. But now farther than the farthest, because we might think it's only very near, because he said it's near, it's a part of you, within, it's far also, so farther than the farthest. Remember a circle whose center is everywhere. And it's at once at every point in the heart within us, as well as outside us, at the farthest imaginable or conceivable point in space, time or thought or imagination. So this Rishi is saying the truth is realized here in the cave of the heart. And the technique has already been discussed earlier. We should not forget that. Okay, so we got to follow the truth, follow that technique, so that we can realize it too in this lifetime. Because that's what he said, Pashyatsu ihi ev nihitam guyayam. We should have that desire. This desire we should have. The worldly desires, they should decrease, keep on decreasing. But this desire that, hey, I have spent so many Diwalis, because in the Diwali, what we do? We light. Am I familiar with my own light? It's good to light the house, good to clean the house, good to eat the sweets. But the real Diwali will be when we can see our own light. When this light is shining through all our windows, through our eyes, through our ears, through our mouth, through our nose, through our hands, is my light shining or not? With the proper sadhana, constantly though, that's another thing he's saying, Nityam. Are we doing it, or do we just find excuses that we'll do it tomorrow? Or I'm not old enough to start it yet. Let's do one more verse, in verse number 8. Na chakshusha grihanate, na api vachaha, na anya deve tapsa karmana va, jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha, tataha tu tam pashyate nishkalam dhyay mana. Na means not, chakshusha, by the eyes, grihate, perceived, na api, nor vachaha, by words, No means not anya, others. Devai, devas. Tapsaha, by penance, by austerity. Karmana, by rituals. Va means either. Gyan prasadena, by understanding. Vishuddh sattvaha, becomes clean and refined. Tataha, then, tu means but, tam, him, pashyate, sees, nishkalam, the absolute. Dhyayamanaha, in meditation, in dhyan. The self is not grasped by eyes or words, nor perceived by the senses, nor revealed by rituals and penance. See, this deva word is for the senses. Senses are called devatas. When the understanding become calm and refined, then in meditation, one realizes him, the absolute. We all know that words are symbols of experiences lived by the mind. And so words cannot express deeper experiences or joys. Even when experiences are rather intimate and deep, words fail. We all know that language is frail, cannot express the intense meditation experiences. So the scripture says self is not grasped by words. Rituals, sure, the Vedas, they insist that we should do rituals because they prepare us. They are earlier preparations for a seeker. And tapasya is also a preparation and training for the mind and intellect to do the meditation. With all this, a seeker becomes well integrated in his or her inner personality. Such a person becomes tranquil in his inner life and gains a certain amount of single pointedness. So then that single pointedness, we use it intellectually also. See, when we are doing rituals also, repeated rituals, they make our mind single pointed. But to believe that these rituals or the tapasya are the end in themselves is a tragic mistake. So this is what this rishi is indicating to us. That do not fall for this fallacy that you have done enough vrats or you have done enough tapasya. That was only to prepare you to move forward. And even the meditation is the means, it's not the goal. Realization of the self is the goal. So in order to do the meditation, we need those tapasyas and the rituals. But in order to realize ourselves, we need to do the meditation. But the goal is to realize yourself. Meditation only removes the veil over the self. And the self is realized by itself in its own light. It's almost like if there is a cloudy sky during the daytime and the clouds roll away with the breeze and the sun shines from behind by its own accord. It has its own light. We cannot say that the wind is responsible to bring the sun out. So light is a sun has the light of its own. So meditation is as much responsible for self-realization as the breeze is responsible for creating the sun. So meditation ends avidya. Vidya is our real nature. So purity of the mind is the most important factor for this great achievement. Vishuddha Sattva. That's why again and again these saints, they emphasize on this Vishuddha Sattva. The more we renounce and get over the negativities in us, the more purified we become in our minds and intellect. And the purer the mind, the greater the divinity which that mind comes to reflect. And this is what is meant here by Gyan Prasad. A pure mind agitates the least. In the still pool of the mind, and a clear reflection of pure awareness comes to play. And the realization or the self-realization after that is immediate and truthful. So Gyan Prasaden Vishuddh Sattvaha. Tataha tutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamana. So a lot of great messages we have gotten in these verses today. Please do reflect upon them and practice also. Practice. But to keep on strengthening our practice more and more. Let's stop it here and we'll start with verse number 9 next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.